Hi everyone, it's Kat here. How you all doing? Just wanted to bring a little bit of a slightly different video today, but I probably will be doing more of these type of videos. I still will do my junk journal, vintage junk journal videos, but also there's the reason I got into journals in the first place is because I do actually journal. So it's been a bit of a journey for me, and I thought I would talk about that a little bit and bring you along and up to speed of where I am today with my journaling, because it has been a journey and I have evolved, and I think I'm certainly getting the hang of it, because it's confusing. How do you journal? All the books, all the methods, and tying it all together, and discovering junk journals probably took me down a track which is amazing. I definitely found a creative side of mine that I thoroughly enjoy. But one question that I'm often asked is, and I see this posted a lot, is what do you do with them? How do you use them? So this is why I wanted to make this video. I wanted to talk about the different ways I journal now, and hopefully give you guys inspiration and encouragement to maybe give it a go yourself, and you know, see how another method of how this can be done. So in the screen now, I've got my 3 journals that I'm currently working on. So the first journal here, I have shown this before. This is my personal junk journal, and I've shared some pages, but you can see that it's, when I made it far too thin. So one of my Christmas holiday projects will be to make myself a new journal. So I've got a few pages left in here. And then as a backup, if I do run out, because I am journaling a lot more now, I found an old journal that I made, one of my first journals actually, when I was playing around. So if I do run out of room in this one, I'm going to use this as an interim measure because I would like to use my new journal in January 2020. So that's my plans for that. So this one here is my bullet journal, and I've been bullet journaling probably for about 3 years. Now, I think I discovered bullet journaling on Pinterest. I can't exactly remember where I came up with it, but somehow I discovered the bullet journal method. I never read the book by Ryder Carroll, and I went on the website and I read up about it, and I thought, yeah, this looks pretty good. I'm going to try this. So I bought myself a cheap notebook, and this is going to be a bit of a longer video, guys. So hopefully you will bear with me, and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. But I think it's, you know, bullet journaling is such a phenomenon, and it is such an amazing method, especially if you like, you know, keeping lists and keeping a track of your tasks, shopping lists, you know, you like to plan, just keeping yourself organized. I mean, that is what a bullet journal is about. And I'm a busy person, and I definitely need a way of organising myself. So that's what attracted me to the bullet journal. I have gone back and had a look at my older journals. So my first one I did as was advised, and I bought just a cheap composition notebook, and I had a go, and I liked it. But I kind of got a little bit confused in some areas, and especially like when you see on YouTube or Instagram or Pinterest, you see all these beautiful layouts and you see all this beautiful artistry, and I just couldn't do any of that, especially like with the brush lettering and the beautiful faux calligraphy, and I wanted to do all of that, and I just couldn't do it. So I got a little bit disillusioned at one point, and I kind of gave up on it and I stopped doing it. Then I came back to it because I needed to have a way of keeping myself organized, and I tried, traditional diary, I tried digital diary, and nothing was really working for me. So I came back to the bullet journal, and I got better at it, but I could never work out how to pull together my personal stuff, that I needed to plan around and organize, and my business, which definitely I needed to be very organized on that, and I am, but I just wanted to take it to another level. So I have recently discovered Helen Colebrook, and absolutely love her. So if you haven't already heard of Helen Colebrook, look her up. She does amazing work, and she's a lovely lady in the UK. And the penny dropped, and so I was so excited when I saw the way she does her journaling, and so I thought, that's how to fit it all together. So this is a leather bound, just a journal cover. I bought this off Etsy. I'm not really sure exactly which shop I could look it up in my orders, but it is a journal that I purchased. It's a lovely kind of like a dusky pink, almost dusky pink colour, you could say. So this is how I use my journal for my bullet journal method. So on my inside pocket, I keep some planner stickers. Now I don't use them all the time. They're stickers that I bought a couple of years ago, but I definitely intend on using these in 2020. So I keep those in the side pocket, and just some pretty papers and things. And then I've just got a couple of envelope packets that I've got some bits of ephemera in there. So I just pop that in there. So that's my bullet journal. And then at the back, I've got my, this is a book that I've made myself, and I use this to make my notes for my business. So when I'm working and I need to, work things out, I don't want to use my bullet journal to scribble in. So I have this in the back, and that's what I do. I just take a fresh page and I just make my notes. And then I can summarize or transfer like the important information into my bullet journal. And that was something that really I could not get my head around, but this is working brilliantly for me. So that's my what I use for my bullet journal, and it's great because if I need to go out for the day, I can slip this out, and then I can just pop it in my handbag and just take this book. So that's what I use that for. So I just put that aside. So that's that. And then I have this one here. Now this is a Chic Sparrow. I'm not sure what it's called. I bought it off a D-Stash site here in Australia. It's a B6 size, and I used to use it as a carry-all, but I stopped doing that. And I may go back to that actually, because I do have a smaller one, and I was very organised when I did that. And I may do a video on that when I set that all up for 2020. But in here, what this is this is my personal journal, but I just do brief entries. So I've shared this on my Instagram. It is really brief. It's part of my nightly reflection, and I will talk about that. But that's a spread that I made using my washi and using some of my ephemera, which ties in with my vintage junk journaling as well, and my supplies. So this is a B6, and this is personally a little bit too small, but I wanted to carry it out to the end of the year, and then I've ordered a Midori slightly bigger one. It's a TN Traveler's Note size, and I will be using that for 2020. So that's what I'm going to use here to carry me out to the end of the year. And this one here is just what I was using, and it's just notes that I was making, and I was putting shopping lists in there. And also when I plan out my junk journals, I sort of work out a little bit vaguely on what I think I might include in the junk journal. So that one's that one there. So I wanted to take you through to the bullet journal and how I got my head around that. So this one here, I bought this. It's called the Dot Journal. It's an Otto Dot Journal. Being in Australia, I couldn't really find a supplier because I have used the Lectern 1917 before, and it is quite expensive to bring over, especially when you've got to pay postage. So I tried a cheaper one, and this one I ordered through Milligram. And I think I paid maybe $20 odd for it, and then I might have paid some shipping. The only problem with it is that the pages are quite thin, and also the dots are not exactly the same as the Lectern. I think that's how you say it. So it's okay. It's got the page numbers on the side here, and then it's got the index. It's got a legend. I'll just show you. It's got getting started. It's got some tips. I don't think it's exactly the bullet journal method. It's not the official one, but it's quite similar. And then this is a symbol key that I've added to. And then it's got the index there, which is quite handy. And that was one thing I never used to do. I never used to index my bullet journals, but I am starting to do that, and I'm finding it very helpful. So, okay, where do I start? I will start. I've got some notes on the side here, so I bear with me. Oh yeah, so this started, now last year, when we moved from 2018 into 2019, I was all geared up, ready to go. I just had a bit of a setback, but that's life, and we do have that. But the important thing is to work through it and journal, which is what I did, and just crafting, which is also what I did, and that was a great therapy in itself. So now that we're kind of getting into the business end of 2019 and heading into 2020, I wanted to kind of get my life back on track. It's a little bit, it's not as intense as what it is. It's just, I just jotted it down. To me, it's like, yep, get my life back on track. So I don't have a problem sharing this. I don't think my goals or my hopes and dreams are any different to anybody else's. I want to exercise more. I want to, you know, when I say diet, yes, I know it's a loaded thing, but, you know, to me, diet just means my eating plan. I want to clean, get more into a routine with my cleaning. Now work, because I've got quite a full plate, I want to kind of work out how to balance all of that. So I call, you know, my journal side of things, I call that my side hustle. And cooking, I want to get back on track with my cooking, because I have kind of neglected that of late. And declutter, gardening, and they're just some notes I made on the side. So I'm not an artist at all, in fact, but I do like to draw and doodle, and it's, you know, don't judge me. I'm happy with it, and that's all that matters. I just look at it and it brings a smile on my face, and that's what counts. So to get inspiration on how to do this, and the more you do it, you know, the better you get at it. So I'm going to keep doing it. But I did buy Helen Colebrook's Journal with Purpose, and I think I've done a flip through on that, so I kind of use that as a little bit of inspiration. And the other book that I refer to is 50 Ways to Draw Your Beautiful Ordinary Life. It's a flow book, and it's Irene Smith and Astrid van der Holste. Okay, so highly recommend it. It just a quick flip through there. It just gives you some ideas and some steps on how to draw. Sorry, I'm out of frame there. Yeah, so it just just some ways to practice drawing, and so that's what I've done there. And I sort of sat down one night, and I guess it's a little bit like that, how to have a 10 out of 10 life, and it's all the areas of your life, very, very loosely based on that. So I just knew that these were some of the areas that I wanted to work on. So that was a starting point for me. And then now I do follow a lady called Burgess Taylor on YouTube, and I like just putting her on. She does live streams, and she can have quite long videos, and that's great because sometimes I'll just sit there, put it on in the background, and I'll just potter around and listen to her, or I might sit and have a coffee. She talks about the bullet journal method as well, and she made the comment one day and said she found it so confusing, and I'm like, here, yes, I agree with you. And she said, but what she did was she actually bought the book, The Bullet Journal Method by Ryder Carroll. And she said, she made the comment, and she said, I thought I would go back to the guy, or who invented the method rather, and I will read his book, because she had done the same as me. She'd seen how people had done it. She had watched YouTube videos about it. She had, probably done the same things me and gone on his website, and she kind of come up with a method that she tried to work out for herself, but some things just weren't falling into place. So I decided, you know what, that is such a good idea. I am going to order his book. So that's what I did, and I've actually read most of it. You'll see I'm probably 2/3 of the way through the book, and I can tell you now that since I have read his book, it has absolutely made sense to me. So but the diamond that I have gotten out of this book is about goal setting, and I learnt that I have probably been guilty of making what he refers to as reactionary goals, and I have very much taken his message too, that if I want to really truthfully pursue my goals and achieve my goals, I have to be very intentional about what my goals are and what tasks I take on and what I agree to. So I have learnt a lot from just reading this one book. So as a result of reading the book, I did what he calls a mental inventory. Now I have done this exercise before, but what it is so it's basically a list where you divide it into 3 columns: working on, should be working on, and want to be working on. So basically you just dump your stuff down on paper and you get it out of your head. I did that exercise, and as I said, I have done the exercise before, but this time around I kind of knew why I was doing it. I guess before I'd seen this spread, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Probably read some blogs or something. I thought, yeah, I'll do that. But having read the book, I kind of got that it's just a way of clearing out what's running around in your head and just getting it down. So, but then what I've never really heard many people talking about is what Ryder Carroll refers to as the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So I've done that here. Now, I've split it up into personal and then career. So I haven't done too much on the career side because I am going to sit down probably in the next few days and really map that one out. But my personal, I have certainly done that. And what the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is, you split your goals. So from your mental inventory, you then go ahead and you work out your goals from, well also, not only that, but you set your goals and you work at your 5-year goal, what you can achieve in 4 months, so what you want to achieve in 5 years, what you want to achieve in 4 months, what you want to achieve and can achieve in 3 weeks, and 2 days and 1 hour. So I went ahead and did that. Now, then what he says to do is to go through each, I think he calls them cells, and pick one that is a priority. And then what you do is you make a collection, what they call a collection. So you make a spread. So for me, I would love to have a bigger home. So I would make a spread and I would call it a bigger home. Now, because that is a 5-year goal, I'm going to have many bullet journals. So he does have a way of indexing and cataloguing those. He calls them threading, which I do get now. I never used to get, but I do get that now. So another one is I want to lose some weight. And then another, like in my 3 weeks, relationships with family. And 2 days, get cooking again. So what he says is that will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then if you do the same on the business, that's 10. So what he suggests to do is then then you schedule it. And that was the other thing that I didn't get, was how to use my weekly spread and how to use my dailies. So I will get into that. So just park that for the moment. But what he says is that you then you just focus on your 2-day and your 1 hour. So I did this on a Sunday, and I had some meat in the fridge that I needed to cook. And we're decluttering at the moment, and that is one of my goals, is to declutter. So post photos of, and I called it garage sale stuff. And do you know what? All week I've been pretty much every day, I've been selling 2 or 3 items that I've been posting. So I've been decluttering and I've been getting a little bit of cash on the side as well. So and then what I did was I was able to knock off my goal, get cooking again. So I feel that I've achieved something and I'm working towards that goal, which makes me happy. I can look back on my bullet journal and I can say, yeah, I'm actually getting there. Relationships with family. So, I've been organising things with my children and talking about things with because it's been front of mind and I've been wanting to really work on that. So that's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So once you have kind of worked out what your priorities are, this is for the goal setting and planning your future, you want to start working on achieving these goals. So then what I didn't understand was the difference between a weekly spread and a daily. So on my Instagram, I actually posted this weekly spread. What you'll find, what I love about the bullet journal method, and Ryder Carroll does talk about this as well, is that you just turn over a page and there's no preset order to this. There is no day, there is no columns, that you can't really use. You have got a blank spread there that you can customize to work for you. Okay, now, yeah, you can do some really extravagant, like I've been just as guilty of that. I did that. It's pretty. It's too colourful for me, and I prefer something like that. I'm going to be able to sit down on the weekend and I'm going to be able to recreate this. Now, I don't have to do that. That's a wreath. I can equally get a stamp and stamp something there, or I could equally, you know, get a little bit of fussy cut something out. So I'll see how I go with that. But I'm quite happy with this layout. So what he talks about is when you are working out your goals and you schedule. So I will have to definitely do a video on the way that the whole monthly and the weekly spreads work. But for example, I have scheduled in what I've had on during the week, and we are now on Wednesday. So I know at a glance tomorrow that I've got a meeting at 9 a.m. I know the weather and my partner's roster. I know that. So that works out really well for me. And then what I've done is during the week, as things have come into my mind, I've jotted them down, like, oh yeah, I need to order that, and oh yeah, I need to do that. And so you know, you schedule things into your week. And then now the dailies I didn't understand. So you would go, what's the date tomorrow? Yeah, so it's the 24th of October and it's a Thursday. Okay, and then in the morning I would have my, what they call the AM reflection. And so I would work out what I've got on my agenda as it stands in the morning. And then during the day, as things come up, you know, it might be a task. So I would add a task by adding a dot. Or I might think of something, so I can do a note and I can jot it down. There might be some inspiration that I get, so I've decided I'm going to use a love heart as my task, and I'll jot that down. So just as the day progresses, I just jot it down. You know, like if I get a message or if someone asks me to do something, so it doesn't slip my mind, I just jot it down. And then it's out of my mind. I know it's recorded and I can just get on with stuff. And then I can refer back to my notes during the day just to make sure that I haven't missed anything important. So then that's the method there. And this is probably a really random video, and I'm hoping this has made sense. And I'm going to show what I'm trying to say is that I couldn't get how to tie everything in together. But now I have kind of got the system going, and it's partly due to reading, you know, the bullet journal method, and also Helen Colebrook is amazing. She's quite similar to me. She has a HR consulting business, and then she's doing her, you know, her YouTube creative side as well, her journal with purpose, which she's on Instagram, YouTube, but she also does Skillshare teaching as well. So I really related to her, and that's why I felt I finally found like some inspiration that worked for me. So I want to play around in this to the end of the year. So I'm creating spreads, and just as I get ideas for things, I'm jotting them down. But I have already ordered my my journal that I'm going to use for 2020. So I've gone back to the lectern. This is the lectern 1917, and it's the dot grid, which I do like the dot grid. So it's a beautiful rose gold colour, and I'm just going to open it up and show you. So you get this little card in here, which is just thank you very much. They're 100 years old, this company, which I didn't know, so I thought that was interesting. And then you get this, and I actually read this, and it's quite interesting. They talk about the history of the company, which I found very, very, very interesting for a bit of a read. So you get that. Now, you can obviously write your name and address details there. The paper is lovely and thick. So you've got your index page here, which I will be using, and then this is where you start. Now I will do some spreads and I will start setting this up, and I will probably film a few videos on that. And at the back there's some tearaway pages that you can, there's 8 perforated pages that you can tear out if you need to give this to somebody. He does talk in the book about a chapter on the letter, and he relays a story about when a mother, well, there was a school, and it was for sick children, I guess you could say. I'm really summarising the story here, but basically a father was in this class, and they were helping with the teachers, and one of the children who he was actually looking after at the time, that was next to his son, actually had a seizure, and the mother happened to be in the classroom too, but she was somewhere else in the room. So they called the ambulance, and she was in such a state of shock, and couldn't really talk. She was trembling, and the paramedics started asking her all these questions, and because she couldn't answer them, she pulled out her notebook and she kept a bullet journal, and at the back she had the perforated pages, and she ripped out a couple of pages and she gave them to the paramedics, and it was a log that she had kept on her son, and it just had, you know, like his birthday, it had all his vital stats, but it also had you know, things like his medication and when he last had his seizures. You know, obviously these were sick children, and so they had, you know, that they had to be monitored closely by their family. And the paramedic just was stunned that she had done this, and he just said, this is exactly what we needed. And as a consequence, all of the parents in that classroom did the same thing, and they kept a book or a notebook. So, you know, the message is, you know, if you've got, you know, your loved ones, you've got elderly parents, or, you know, you've got anyone around that may be a little bit ill or have some medical complications, if you keep a note and make that as a spread in your bullet journal, who knows, something might happen and it might save their life, because it definitely saved this little boy's life. So that's just a little story I felt was quite inspirational. So there are 8 sheets. I can't find them at this moment, but they're page numbered, so down the bottom there. And you also get labels, which I have popped in the back here. You get these labels, which is a lovely rose gold, and then you get 2 ribbons, which I find really good. The one I'm currently using only has 1 ribbon, and I find that these are really good to, you know, you might have a page that you constantly go to that you want to mark, and then you know, this can be your current page that you're, like your next page that you're working on. So I find, I'm glad I've gone back to the lectern, because I did miss having the 2. It's ink proof paper. That's another thing I like about this type of paper, is that when you write on it, it doesn't have that bleed through on the other side. It's thread bound, and I've already showed the contents page. It's got the pocket in the back, and it's got 8 perforated sheets, and it's also acid-free paper. So beautiful rose gold. And I did also buy the pen loop, which I've never done before, but I thought I would, yeah, I thought that would be very handy to have. So I think the idea is, and I'm just going to do it here, is that you put it on the very back page. So I'm going to put it there. So yeah, now I've got my pen loop in there. So I highly recommend that. I've never ordered a pen loop before, but it came up as a suggestion, and I thought, yeah, that is a really good idea. So I'm excited to get this started. And what I do is I put my legend. I did like in in this current bullet journal that I'm looking at. I do like how the legend's at the front. I normally put the legend at the back on the pocket, but I think, yeah, I will put it on the front. So the other thing about the bullet journal method, which is something that I didn't understand, I've talked about the morning reflection, but then you have what he calls, you know, the evening reflection. So you go back and you have a look at your day, and it's amazing how much you have actually achieved. And if you don't notate it down in an analog system, you can lose that. The digital, that's the only thing with digital methods, is that you don't have the satisfaction of writing things down and crossing things off, and then going back and flicking through a page and actually seeing what you've done. And it just gives you a great sense of achievement. So he talks about the PM reflection. So then how have I then transferred this over into my other journaling habits? So then I do that, and I also do the gratitude as well. I read recently that for one negative comment that you, or one criticism that you have made in your direction, you need to have 5 positive comments to turn that around. And a gratitude journal is one way of giving yourself some positive reinforcement. So I've definitely been practicing that more. And I found that, yeah, you do the, you know, the normal, I've been, you know, I'm grateful for my loved ones, I'm grateful for a roof over my head, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. But then after a while you run out of reasons, the stock standard reasons why you're grateful, which means that you really do have to think about what you're grateful for. And so you start pulling apart your day, and that's when the practice of a gratitude journal really comes into play. I have been doing that of late, actually. And, you know, you can see here, I've got, you know, the stock standard, my home, roof over my head, my partner, my work, my creativity. But then I wrote this morning, the bullet journal method. I really think this will be the key to moving forwards, because I'm so grateful that Ryder Carroll has taken the trouble to actually not only invent the method, but to write the book, because it's given an illumination in my life that's going to help me move forward and achieve the goals and plan my life the way I would like to, and get me one step closer to that. So the practice of gratitude, if you haven't already been doing it, I highly recommend checking it out and starting a gratitude log. So with the PM reflection, then what I do is I get my little journal here, and it doesn't take long. It takes like 5 minutes, and it's a third. So a spread like this, I'm going to, you know, probably do 3. So that's 6 days there. So even if I don't journal like on a Saturday, I can get a week in here, and it's just a few sentences. And I will share later on in another video my grandmother's journal, and why I believe it's so important to journal. And that's what she did. And trust me, her journal was tiny. It was probably like literally half the size of this. And she literally had in pencil a few lines each day. But I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've got 2 years of her journals like that. So that's my PM reflection. Then I use my junk journal. And this is where I go deeper. This is where maybe couple of times a week I will just write, and it might be in the morning, it might be in the weekend, it might be in the evening, just as inspiration takes me. I might decorate some pages up, you know, like I've done there. I might put some photos up, might put some washi, you know, there's some creative projects I've done, and I will just journal. And that's how I use my junk journal. This one is just an altered book, like it's a cheap one that I bought from Kmart and for $5, and I took out the inside and I put 2 signatures in there. The other journal that I keep, so this is a Chic Sparrow Odyssey, and this I ordered from America and I absolutely love it. So what I did was I just made up 2 signatures, and especially when we were waiting for Mum, you know, Mum's funeral and things like that, I just in my grief, I just poured out my my feelings, and for several months afterwards, I just journaled in here. So this is quite special to me, and I call it a grief journal, but I also call it a healing journal. This is just some charms from an old bracelet, I think, that I picked up at an op shop, and this is a hair bow tie, green tartan, that I picked up in an op shop that I loved, and I put that on the front there. I've got, when I ordered this, it was a birthday present to myself, and I got fill the paper with breathings of your heart. That's a William Wordsworth quote, which I absolutely loved. And I got the ink splatters and the coffee stains put into the cover as well. It's got a pen loop in here. And just little things. I think I made that actually. That's one of those altered paper clips that I made when that was the rage, maybe a year or so ago. And this little angel here, which I thought was so appropriate to put on this journal. It's an old scarf that I had, and it was an alpaca, made of alpaca wool, and finally had its day. But I just love this it's a little button, and I've popped that on there. So that's a grief journal that I have, which I use that one for. So some other things that I can talk to you about is my pens that I use. So I love to write, depending, but my when I bullet journal or when I write in my journals, I like to use a Stabilo, which is a fine 0.4, or I like to use, this is the Pilot V 0.5. So I like to use those. When I do my deep journaling, I like to use my Lamy fountain pen. And I just recently learnt how to clean that too, because it was blocked. I hadn't used it for a while, and I cleaned it, and now it's writing again. So yeah, I absolutely love using that. I do have a traditional, the nib pen, and I will practice doing that because I'm practicing my lettering, which brings me to this. I treated myself recently to some Tomboy I'm very new at this, but is it the Fudenosuko? I should look it up how to say it. But these brush pens are just amazing, and I'm practicing some lettering because I would love to do that. And I would love to get better at drawing too. So I've got my notes on the side here. So I guess summarising everything up, the other thing I'll add too is that when I journal in my, when I do my deeper journaling, I'm actually very mindful of the fact that I want to journal deeper to sort out my stuff. But if I've got really, really deep stuff that I really need to clear my head about, or I've got some things going on that are a bit sensitive of nature, I actually do use an online diary, and it's Penzu, Penzu. So I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. I'll just write it down for you. So it's actually, I'll do it. So it's Penzu. And I pay for that. It's a yearly subscription. And I use that. And you can actually there's like a legacy thing to it. I'll find out some more information on that, but you can actually put that in your will. And you can pass somehow. I don't know how it works, but I have noticed that. So that I just use that if I need to sort some stuff out in my head. That if somebody happened to pick this up and read it, I want it to be light. And yeah, I do go deeper into stuff, but yeah, that kind of really deeply personal stuff, I put in Penzu. I've read some stories where people have gotten hold of diaries, and they've actually, and it's very cruel. They've actually, like the people that are being talked about in the diary, they've actually called them up and they've set them around in a room and they've read out the diary to all these people about what has been written about them, which I think is a gross invasion of privacy, and I would be absolutely horrified if anybody did that to me, and it's put people off keeping a journal. So I have had an experience where when I was shifting house, this is many years ago, one of my diaries, or a couple of my diaries, fell out, and a neighbour, and I don't know who this person was, because I opened up my door and they were sitting nicely on the front doorstep, which was very nice of them, but I have no idea whether they leafed through those diaries, and I did have some personal stuff in there. So ever since then, I've been very mindful that if anybody ever did get hold of a diary, I don't want them knowing my deep, dark inner secrets. And so that's just a little tip that if you've never heard of Penzu, maybe have a look at that. So this has been a completely kind of, like, I've been wanting to do a video on this for a while, and it's a little bit unplanned. It's a bit like, yeah, I've just kind of done the video. So I hope that you've enjoyed this and gotten some inspiration out of it. And certainly, I guess the purpose of why I wanted to do this was I wanted to show you how you can use your junk journal, you know, how we can use our supplies, and a little bit of a method of how we can go about our day. Even a simple thing like keeping our bullet journal, you can flick back on that and you can see your life, your daily life, just your thought structures, what you did, what you got up to, what you achieved. And it's just so satisfying. And I'm really pleased that I finally kind of got a bit of a method going, and it's sort of the pennies dropped on it all. So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I will sign off now. If you liked this video, please, you know, like my video, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell, and that way you'll be notified when I next upload a video. So have a great day, guy, or evening, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.